if you can build empathy and you can drive collaboration, you'll get growth. And those are the things that I like to kind of point out to folks.
Yeah, you literally. Hello, and welcome to a whole new episode of Engadi CX. I'm your host, Jeremy D'Souza, and today we have the amazing Dennis Wakabayashi with us. But before we dive into the interview, allow me to introduce you to the magic of Engadi. Engadi is the world's leading multilingual no-code chatbot platform, available across 14 channels with 30,000 bots created across 186 countries in every domain and use case. Engadi has also been recognized as a top platform by Inc.com, TechWorld, CIO, and many others. We run the Engadi blog, the video channel, and the Engadi CX podcast, receiving upwards of 300,000 visitors annually. And now, for our guest. Dennis is the VP Customer Experience Solutions Delivery at R.R. Donnelley. He's ranked by Clear.com as a top 10 CX influencer with over 50,000 followers. In May 2020, he was named one of the top 50 customer service experts of the decade. Wow. Included in the top 40, over 40 digital marketers in the USA by Campaign US, and serves as an advisory council member for the Adobe Experience League. His mission is to unite brand consumers through empathy, collaboration, and growth. Dennis, we are absolutely thrilled to have you with us.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me on your show.
Thanks for joining us.
Sure.
Okay, guys, before we dive in, before Dennis reveals all his amazing insights, I have a quick announcement for y'all. Yeah, we have something special for y'all, a special gift. So stick around till the end of the interview and you'll get it. Dennis, let's get started.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so your mantra is essentially empathy, collaboration, and growth. Can you share your thoughts on businesses that can work on this to help them succeed?
Well, sure. I think it's really, for me, it was about making CX an easy to understand formula. And so what I've figured out over the last decade, you can say, is that it all starts with empathy. Empathy leads to collaboration, and empathy and collaboration lead to growth. So it's three basic steps. When I speak to brands or executives about empathy, it's not just empathy for the customer, but it's empathy for the employee. I think based on the current world events, it's empathy for the citizen. It's also empathy for your stakeholders, your shareholders. All of these people work together to deliver mutually beneficial experiences between brands and customers. And when that empathy and collaboration really starts working together, you see financial growth. And I think you also see growth in terms of brand satisfaction as a key indicator. So really, when people say, what is customer experience? There's all these buzzwords, and I try to just distill it down into empathy, collaboration, leading to growth.
I love that. So especially with the current COVID crisis and everything, how important is it to empathize with your customers?
Well, I think what we've seen is some dramatic shifts in customer behavior in this year. The most fundamental being that customers, where customers used to want to be happy and satisfied, now customers prefer to be safe and secure. So I think that really, in terms of empathizing with your customers, it's about creating a safe environment, about protecting their well-being. And I think that also would extend into all brands have a new, renewed sense of commitment to the empathy towards the citizens of their particular city. So I think, you're seeing empathy be based on not just a customer level and an employee level, but also a citizen level.
Oh, it's pretty cool. So how can empathy, acting as a catalyst, help your business to create a great product, a great service, which can actually be, really successful? And what role can AI and technology play in this entire thing?
Well, I think that's very interesting because, ironically, you bring up a really interesting point, Jeremy, which is We use artificial intelligence to understand the voice of customers at scale.
Yeah.
There is just not enough capability in one person or one particular research group's toolbox to sort through the number of surveys or samples or interviews that an artificial intelligence can scan across the internet. So when I use artificial intelligence, I use it to look at a couple of things. One, if I can look at existing customers through call center data and aggregate that information and take it to a place where I can understand what the majority of customers in a particular area or a particular demographic or a particular challenge or friction point. When I can understand those at scale using customer call center data, that's one thing. That's one kind of use of artificial intelligence. Another type of artificial intelligence use might be social listening platforms, where I'll go out and I'll seek to find what is the conversation about a particular brand. What are customers saying at scale across a country or across the globe or within a city? But then I will also look at what are the brands, what are the customers saying about the other brands, the competitors? So it's by using these artificial intelligence tools, I sort of dig out the customer needs or desires or troubles or aspirations at scale.
Yeah, so it's all about using AI to scale up your human efforts, because a person on his own can't do all that.
That's right. That's totally right.
Yeah. And I think it's also about, using that to understand what your customers really, really want. And then when you know that, then you can empathize with them much better.
That's exactly right. It's so often we find that in surveys, customers will respond a particular way because they're in a survey environment. But when we do social listening, we find that people who are expressing themselves, in some ways, this little barrier of anonymity, if you will, creates a sense of confidence in a consumer to say what they really think about a brand or explain a particular challenge they're having. So it's really interesting that in a strange way, anonymity on the internet actually creates clarity for consumer empathy. It's an interesting balancing act there.
Yeah, because in a survey, most people answer what is expected of them, and they don't want to offend the person who's taking the survey. So they'll play it safe. But with anonymity, you know what they're really thinking.
Yeah,
absolutely. Okay.
One thing I'll just jump in there. Sorry, Jeremy, to cut you off, but I find this interesting. You sort of sparked a thought in my mind, which was another fascinating use of artificial intelligence that I recently heard about was when Adobe partnered with NVIDIA graphics cards and was able to take Sensei, their AI piece, and look at customer behavior through the lens of video game platforms. So there you have this other angle where people who are donning these personas, they're acting in a certain way in a gaming environment. And the insights that you get from there will teach you things like, is this person a problem solver or is this person a thrill seeker, and measuring their risk. So that's another interesting
pretty cool
use. Yeah.
Okay. So what are the upcoming trends in CX, and what role will conversational intelligence play in customer service in the future?
Well, that is a really big question, Jeremy. The thing that I find interesting about the chatbots is when we talk about conversational intelligence, we're, in that context, you might be thinking of things like the transactional conversation, which I think chatbots get very well, the challenge and the response, right? Yeah. But then as we get to other types of conversation where we're positioning, can the chatbot, through natural language processing, identify where in context the particular customer is? And I think ultimately where we're going to go with AI, and I'd be fascinated even more so to hear your perspective on this, to be honest, is when we get to this place of empathy or transformational communication where we ask each other questions of which we do not know the answer, where the answer is open-ended. How does AI tackle that? Because I think when there is a known answer, press 1 for this language, press 2 for this language, or tell me what you're asking, what kind of customer care you need. If there's a fixed set of answers, I think the machines do very well at that. But how do they start to formulate new answers to questions where they don't have a predetermined answer? And I think I'm paying a lot of attention to that piece of it. I think one is the comprehension of the language being spoken for artificial intelligence, but I think secondarily is what are the known answers and how do you formulate new answers to create empathy with consumers?
Yeah.
That was a long answer.
And I think it also involves, not keeping the customer stuck on the chatbot if the chatbot can't answer that at that particular moment.
Yes, that's exactly right. I also think in this new touchless world, we see more and more brands moving to customer care agents on the phone in video. But to your point, there's this handoff, right, of addressing needs of customers at scale and then bringing those personalized experiences directly to the customer one-on-one with a human. And I think that you pointed out a really great handoff there.
So
crucial.
It will involve essentially filtering it down, as you said, getting all the monotonous ones out of the way, and then the ones which actually need a human's attention could be handed off to a human. So
That's right.
The chatbot could be like the first point of contact over there.
Yes, right.
Okay. So are there any other thoughts that you'd like to share with the audience, Dennis?
I just appreciated when you reached out to talk a little bit more about customer experience. I think that I always just emphasize the same 3 things: empathy for each other, customers, stakeholders, citizens, shareholders, and collaboration. How do teams work together to unify their intent and purpose towards the goals and needs of the brand or the consumer? How does that collaboration happen? How do brands and consumers co-collaborate to co-create the new version of commerce? I think about a lot of those things, but ultimately, I always just stress that if you can build empathy and you can drive collaboration, you'll get growth. And those are the things that I like to kind of point out to folks.
Yeah, you're literally involving humanity over there. So
yeah,
sure will get growth. Okay, Dennis, this has been great. Where can the audience reach out to you?
Well, thank you for asking me. If you want to follow me, I'm at Just In Time CX on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and the internet. www.justintimecx.com. And I love to exchange ideas, collaborate with people, learn more about the world of customer experience. I feel like I'm always learning. I've learned a couple of things from prepping for this interview today, and I appreciate that, Jeremy. And I'd just love to hear from anyone who wants to connect.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to be flooding the internet to reach out to you because your insights are really good. Like, seriously. There's not a lot of people talking about empathy over here.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Okay, so since all of y'all have stuck around till right now, we're really excited to announce that our ebook, The Evolution of Customer Experience, is out and is available for you to download completely free. So check out the link in the description and you'll find it. Engadi CX will definitely be back with a new episode and a new expert really soon. So stick around, guys.